Have you wondered why we kept struggling to understand topics or certain topics in our school syllabus in the past? Assalamualaikum and hi to Dr. Yasmin and everyone who are watching. My name is Lukman Hakim bin Mat Said with my fellow group 4 members which is Amar bin Jamaluddin, Muhammad Taufik bin Jurimi, Muhammad Syahmi bin Saleh and Azan Hanif bin Azmi from section 40. Today we will presenting the title about flipped classroom, the problems and solution. So let's get right to it. First and foremost for the introduction, the flipped classroom has revolutionized or changed from a conventional or traditional teaching method to something more reliable, which is the flipped classroom. As we know, the traditional teaching methods is only a passive learning for the students. This is because the students only given the information from the teachers and the student will write it down on the notebook. So there will be no discussions about a certain topic between the teachers. Despite the flipped classroom advantage, the flipped classroom have not yet been implemented in the whole world. This is because when we talk about implementing the flipped classroom, we have to consider the challenge or the problems for both the instructor and even for the students, which we discover in this study, such as limited technology access and teacher skill sets. Throughout this study, we will talk about the solution for each of the problems. And lastly, despite the challenge or the problems, flipped classroom hold more than we can imagine, as it can harbor potential on enhancing the student engagement, foster personalized learning experience, and elevate student-teacher interactions. That's all for the introduction. I, I pass it to the next person.
Thank you, Lukman. We will continue to the next part, which is the first problem of the flipped classroom model. So the first problem is lack of student discipline. Lack of student discipline can be divided into three main parts, which are self-control, accountability, and also time management. So for self-control, many students struggle to resist the allure of internet activities and instant gratification, which can hinder their ability to prioritize their educational tasks effectively. What I mean by this is that students are more likely to scroll through TikTok, which is a really dopamine-inducing activities because they like to watch cat videos rather than educational videos. So when they do this, they will more likely to not watch educational videos that are provided by the teachers or lecturers. Social media acts as online distraction that have contributed to students' dependency on these platforms. So as we know in this modern world, almost everyone is addicted to social media. This is because the lack of discipline. So the lack of student discipline and their self-control will makes the flipped classroom model to be ineffective. So the next part is accountability, which also falls under the lack of student discipline. Research suggests that student engagement play a vital role in academic success, school retention, and student resiliency. So, there is no constant presence of teachers and peers in flipped classroom model. They need to watch videos or maybe online meetings. But there is no face-to-face interaction between the teachers and peers. It is really challenging to maintain a strong commitment when you are behind a screen and you can just do anything that you want. So as an example, you can just play video games rather than watching the educational video because people are not that accountable with their works. So, learning outcome for the students may suffer and it will make the flipped classroom model to be inefficient. The last point of the lack of student discipline is bad time management by the students. In a flipped classroom model, there is a lack of regulated structure. Unlike traditional classroom, the school will provide a structured schedule and the students are needed to follow the schedule strictly. But in a flipped classroom model, students may feel less responsible and are at risk of straying from the set timetable. This is because the flipped classroom model is really flexible. And while it might have some advantage, it inadvertently promotes procrastination among students. And after they procrastinate, this will build up their assignments and their projects. And the pressure to catch up and meet deadlines can adversely affect their mental health and overall well-being. So, flipped classroom will cause students that have bad time management to feel more stress, and it will probably cause to negatively affect their academic result later. So this is why flipped classroom has a big problem of which is the student lacks discipline and will cause the student to have a bad result later. That's all for my part. We will continue to the next part.
So now I'm going to talk about one of the problem that might be faces during the flipped classroom. So as we all know, the flipped classroom is one of the efforts that has been done to make the learning processes easier and to gain better engagement by the students and the teachers. So one of the problems that I'm going to talk about is the lack of resources. We also know that the flipped classroom is totally different compared to the old teaching and learning style. The old teaching and learning style is physically in a classroom where the teachers will give instructions, exercises, and homeworks physically. Compared to the flipped classroom, it will more likely to ask the student to go through all the lessons by themselves by looking at the resources provided in the flipped classroom. So here, the teachers cannot be using the old teaching resources such as books and notes that have been used all years back, as it might not be suitable for the new flipped classroom. The teachers need to design and create new teaching resources that are suitable for the flipped classroom. The teachers also need to design and create the new attractive, interactive, and engaging teaching resources so that the student will be more interested and not getting bored by studying through the internet. This might as well add some burden to the teachers to go through all the resources to create a new one, as they might need to spend a lot of time and efforts in making it. The teachers also need to combine all the resources into a new format to make it suitable for the flipped classroom. One of the problems that the teachers might face during making these new resources, there are some of the subjects that are fully depending on physical exercises and concepts, such as physics, mathematics, and chemistry, that is hard for them to learn through the flipped classroom. This might as well make it hard for the teachers to make their learning resources for this subject to be given to the students. As a conclusion here, this lack of resources problem need to be addressed to achieve the desired outcomes from this flipped classroom. And we all also hope that it will not affect the effectiveness of the teaching and learning process in the future. I think that's all from me, and I hope this flipped classroom main goals will be achieved. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and greetings. My name is Amar bin Jamaluddin and I will be presenting the solution to one of the problems in the flipped classroom model, which is the implementation of a clear schedule and guideline to solve the issue of students not knowing what to do with provided materials. So, first, what are the reasons for implementing a clear schedule and guideline? Well, this is because students are overwhelmed by the materials as there is a lack of instructions, which in turn causes confusion among students, as students are unsure of what to do with the materials. So let's say, for example, a student logs into their online learning platform and finds there are 10 different types of materials, ranging from videos, discussion boards, and reading assignments, for just a single lesson. Understandably, they would be quite confused about what to do. This will undermine the effectiveness of the flipped classroom model, rendering it less advantageous than a traditional classroom setup where an instructor guides students through a structured and controlled learning process. Thus, this leads me on how a clear schedule guideline can help students with the flipped classroom model. So, a clear schedule and guideline will outline tasks as well as the expected completion dates. This will help students navigate through the material as it is more structured through the use of dates and as well as the material type. Other than that, because students have an expected completion date already for their material, they are able to plan their study time accordingly as it serves as a roadmap for their studies. So whenever students are confused on what to do, they are able to simply refer to the roadmap to understand what it needs to be done and when they need to do it by. A simple and effective implementation example is a checklist of tasks at the expected completion date. Although simple, it provides all the necessary information for a student to begin their learning process confidently. And after that, the implementation of a clear schedule and guideline will also nurture a student's sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Each time the student completes a task, there will be a visual feedback on the progress of their studies. So let's say we take the previous example of a checklist as the schedule and guideline. Every time a student completes a task, there will be a visual feedback on the progress of their studies through the use of a tick to signify its completion. And through this, the students will be able to see the completed tasks and the tasks they have yet to complete. And through this, a student's self-confidence and motivation will also increase. Their self-confidence will increase as they accomplish the task independently, thus feeling a sense of accomplishment of what they have done by themselves. While the motivation to learn will grow as they see what tasks they have yet to complete, and will want to keep the momentum of their completing studies. And as such, not only will their studies be improved, their self-confidence and motivation to learn will also be greatly enhanced. And as such, it is essential that a clear schedule and guideline is provided for students in order for students to fully benefit from the flipped classroom model. A clear schedule and guideline will also optimize and enhance further the advantages that a flipped classroom model offers. That is all from me for the solution of a clear schedule and guideline for the flipped classroom model. Thank you.
Thank you, Amma, for your wonderful part of the presentation. So let us continue to the next point, which is another solution that is included in flipped classroom model, which is flipped learning resource optimization. It is basically a solution to the problem of a traditional classroom, which is lack of teaching and learning resources. In a flipped classroom, students experience the reverse flow of a typical classroom. Here, students watch pre-recorded lectures or complete readings before classes. It allows class time for practical exercises, quizzes, and group projects. It also minimizes reliance on textbooks. So, in a flipped classroom, it addresses the scarcity of teaching resources by reducing dependence on traditional materials and uses other material sources and methods. This brings us to the next point, which is online lecture videos and materials. Here, teachers can create their own lecture videos or just gather relevant online resources. It ensures accessibility for students at any time. For an example, a high school math teacher utilizes Khan Academy, an online resource for their homework and assignments. Lastly, it increases students' engagement. In a flipped classroom, it encourages students to participate through active questioning. Thus, it increases the opportunity for problems that the students face to be resolved easily and quickly. So, what can be said about this solution in the flipped classroom model is it mitigates the impact of limited teaching resources, as students can access a wide range of online materials, digital materials, and online resources, fostering engagement both in class and at home. That is all for my part. Thank you.
Last but not the least, the conclusion. Throughout the study, we know that the flipped classroom is a promising and innovative approach in the education fields that will require further exploration and refinement. This is because even though our knowledge is considered a future or something evolutionary, it's actually the knowledge that we have is not perfect. So it will always have a room for us to improve the knowledge. This is also applied for the flipped classroom. And as we all know from all the challenges such as the limited technology access and the teacher skill sets, it also can be overcome through proper planning and ongoing professional development initiative. This solution can be found throughout a research. So, in conclusion, the flipped classroom that offer numerous advantages, which including heightening student engagement, personalized learning experience, and improved student-teacher interaction. It is also one of the starting starting steps for a better teaching methods in the future. For my last word, the flipped classroom is not the ending, but it is the starting point. And I think that's all for our group presentation about the flipped classroom. Thank you and have a good day.